Hey, what's going on, everybody? So today I want to talk about Capcom. Now, first of all, I do want to make it very clear that Capcom is seriously one of my favorite companies of all time. Like, one of my favorite third-party video game publisher companies of all time. They do really great jobs with the quality of their games. They do a really great job of trying to revive old IPs. They do a lot of games throughout every single year. They kind of save the industry for me time and time again with its releases, with stuff like Resident Evil 4 or even the occasional Ghosts and Goblins or something like that. I really, really love Capcom. I think that they have an amazing umbrella of games. And it's with that said that I do have one major complaint with them, and it's actually very related to what we're going to be talking about today. So a lot of people are talking about Dragon's Dogma 2 right now. I think a lot of people were super hyped for it, and there was a lot of very positive press going up to the game's release. You know, I think that they released a character editor before the full game released, and everyone was having fun with that. However, now we're at this stage where the game is out, and there's a lot of DLC for the game, and a lot of people are upset. And it makes a ton of sense as to why, at least in my opinion. Now, we kind of saw this with Resident Evil 4 Remake, but for some reason we didn't get as much blowback for it. In case you didn't know, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a single-player game. It's a single-player action game, and it even totes itself as much on the Steam page. However, for some reason, there's anti-cheat put into this, and DRM, things that are kind of meant for exclusively online multiplayer games. Now, there is online functionality in Dragon's Dogma 2, but there is no, actual player-to-player multiplayer going on here. So why on earth would you need anti-cheat and stuff like that? Well, it's because in order to sell this stuff as DLC, things like editing your character a second time or reviving a character or having a warp point set locator and stuff like that. In order to sell those things, they need the game to be regulated. You can't be able to just kind of grab a cheat on like a website and make your character invincible, because then that would just make the point of selling this stuff for money moot. And so Capcom, in their infinite wisdom, decided, hey, you know what? This is how we'll solve this issue. We will just put anti-cheat into the game and force the players to use these features. Well, I will not necessarily force. If you're good at the game, you shouldn't need any of these features, or some of them are kind of more convenient than others, but still at the end of the day, they're just sort of supplementary. But still, there's lots of people that are review bombing this game, talking about the DLC and its weird practices. And then there's people like me that are just more upset by the fact that you put an anti-cheat into a single player game. The optics of it is terrible. We're going back to PS3 360 era Capcom, where they just weren't thinking ahead. Like, they weren't thinking player focus for a moment in time. Now, again, I give Capcom a lot of reprieve for the 360 PS3 era. They tried to get ahead of DLC by having it baked into the disc, and then you just pay to have it unlocked, and a lot of people found that to be really scummy, and they've kind of moved past that for the most part, I think. I think you still see it from time to time with this company and other companies, but what can you do at this point? But what I have a huge problem with is the fact that they also just kind of are a little bit aggressive towards modders. I've seen a history now of Capcom taking down fan games and some mods and stuff like that, and I find that to be a bad approach to the world of modding. Embrace it, Capcom. It's just you and Nintendo and Fortnite that seem to have a huge bug up their butt when it comes to modding. Just accept it. People like to mod, and you know what? The sooner you get on board with the gaming community, the sooner you will find yourself with a stronger community that wants to back you up. Because with Dragon's Dogma 2 now, for as much of a slam dunk as it should have been, because of the fact that you revived an old IP that was a bit of a cult classic, you messed it up. Because again, you kind of destroyed the goodwill and faith of your player base. And now you're just seeing the ire of people trying to have this conversation instead of talking about how good Dragon's Dogma 2 could have been. Something to think about. Again, nothing but good things will come to you if you just be more player focused. And players love to mod. So if players love to mod, then focus on the fact that they like to mod and embrace that. I don't know in what ways, but do that. Because you will become, again, a perfect company in my mind if you just kind of work out this one little issue you got. But anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about. I know this is kind of like a fresh, relevant story, and it did kind of hit home for me, being the guy that did Boundary Break. I know that Capcom hasn't come after me specifically, but I've definitely seen a lot of language and verbiage over the years where they essentially say that they don't like shows like Boundary Break, and it always broke my heart because I have nothing but love for Capcom. All right, guys, thanks for taking a listen on my video. Taking a listen. I think I'm the first person to say that. All right, take care.